Good evening and welcome to the Board of Commissioners working session for November 13th, 2025. Our first order of business this evening is a motion to approve the minutes from the working session of September 11th, 2025, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. As we have been doing, we will move public comment to the end of the session so that folks, if they choose, can comment after hearing the presentations. The first item for discussion this evening is presentation of Land Development -25-03 Nobletown Center South parking improvements, preliminary final land development plans. And Chris, should we turn it to Cal? Yes. All right. Cal Hassan, you're up. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Council President Hacker. You have before you tonight an application that was submitted for preliminary final land development approval, as you had alluded to, for the Nobletown Center parking improvement project. Under this application, the applicant is proposing to redevelop an existing building, 36,289 square feet, and also to complete improvements within the parking lot. As a result of these improvements, there will be a decrease in the impervious area of just about 860 square feet. So the improvements that are included as part of this application will be curbing, sidewalk. There's going to be some planting islands. There's a retaining wall, stormwater inlets, and subsurface stormwater management basin. Please note that under this application, the applicant is not requesting any variances, and also the applicant is not requesting any waivers as part of this land development application. This project appeared at the September 28th Planning Commission, and they did get recommendation from them for final minor land development approval. I would like to just run through a couple of highlights for the project and also highlight some of the high-level comments that we have. From a zoning standpoint, again, as I mentioned before, there's no zoning comment that will require the applicant to go back to the zoning hearing board. However, these are some comments that they will have to be addressed. One of these comments is the applicant is proposing a retaining wall on the southern part of the project. This retaining wall varies in height between half a foot to 8 feet. Code requires that this wall be not more than 6 feet. They will have to revise the plan to show a maximum of 6 feet. Also, as part of the application, the applicant is proposing some modification to parking areas. Some of the dimensions will have to be revised to comply with the parking dimension requirements in the zoning code. We also noted as part of the application several areas of landscaping and buffering that the applicant will have to submit plans showing compliance with these requirements under the code. And the last comment I have is I would like to highlight a comment we have from a traffic standpoint. Due to the newly proposed tenant spaces identified on the plan, the applicant should prepare an anticipated peak hour traffic calculation associated with the application. Additionally, we recommend that a traffic safety evaluation be completed for the site driveways on Old Jerk Road and also at the fairway to determine if any term restrictions are warranted and identify any recommended signage and also any pavement marking modifications. These are the high-level comments that I have. Again, most of the comments that we have, the applicant can comply with without having to go for any additional approvals with the zoning hearing board. With that, I answer any questions the commissioners may have for me.
Thank you, Cal. Are there any questions for Mr. Hassan? Commissioner Weingart.
Hi, Cal. It's Stuart.
Hi, Commissioner.
Are you recommending at this point not to allow final, just preliminary, pending these other modifications and plans?
So if you ask me my opinion, I would suggest that before the applicant moves on to the workshop session of the commissioners meeting, that the applicant submits plan compliant with the comments that we have, so that by the time he goes to the next commissioner meeting, we'll be in compliance and we'll be in a position to make recommendation to move forward, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I
That's
guess
helpful.
one question
That's
for
fine. Well, actually, let me invite, if the applicants, would you like to come forward and introduce yourselves? We wanted the backdrop, but please come forward.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Brian Conlon, I'm with Langen Engineering, the project engineer for the project. Julie Bernstein, also from Kaplan Stewart, our land use attorney. And hello, Cal, and thanks for the summary. I'd be happy to give an overview if you folks would like.
Sure.
We do have the PowerPoint here. I don't know how to get it to your screen, but I do have it here. And I do want to clarify, Cal mentioned no waivers. We are asking actually for 2 waivers, which I'll address when as I go through. And Cal did a nice job of the project, so give me a second here to familiarize myself. There we go. So I'm sure everyone's familiar with Noble Town Center. Again, 611 in the fairway. We're talking about the main building in the center of the site here as I'm pointing on my cursor. I'm sure you know recently the old Walgreens building has been re-tenanted with some new tenants there that we've worked on, and I hear they're doing very well. And again, we're talking about the main building here, which is 3 levels, 3 levels of stores, which is part of why we're out here. This lower level is what we're going to see in a second as the site plan improvement. The parking lot, if you folks don't know, it's at the lower level. There's 1 level, and then it drops down about 8 feet, and then there's another level, the lower level of the parking lot, which is this one here. In that area, we're basically bringing up that 8 feet. I mean, that's basically it, and that was required for these 3 new tenants that we're proposing on the building here. And I'm going to jump to the site plan. There's a blow-up of that view. Again, the existing building, it was the old Bed Bath & Beyond, by the way. The existing PetSmart is over here to the right, to the east. That's staying. And that old Bed Bath & Beyond is basically being carved up into 3 new tenants. And then you can see there's a hallway here in the back of the building, the plan north, a common area. That's actually where all the loading activities will take place for all these tenants. And then again, basically the parking lot is pretty similar to what we're doing. We're just raising it, as I mentioned. There will be a decrease in impervious coverage, slight, but about 1,000 square feet, Cal mentioned on his write-up there. The retaining wall that was mentioned does go around the perimeter of the site here as we're bringing that to grade. We will comply, as mentioned. I know there's a 6-foot in your ordinance. We're working on revising that wall to comply with that. And then really again, there is a subsurface basin. You see this kind of hatched area there. And that'll be within that footprint of the parking lot we're raising. We're meeting all the township standards for stormwater management for both quantity and quality control. And again, we're just basically raising this up to be more level with the top. And the last thing I'll mention, again, our utility plan, there are a couple new sewer laterals for the new buildings, including a grease trap. So there's some minor utility work. We plan on complying with all the comments from Cal's letter, as he mentioned, including all the landscaping and 2 waivers. I do want to mention that we did mention at the Planning Commission. Waiver 1 is a request from Section 14611B, verse 7 or Section 7. Which requires the location, size, and ownership of all the underground and above-ground utilities on the site and within 400 feet of the site to be shown. Again, we don't really think that's necessary for 400 feet of the site. We do show all the utilities in our project area. Okay. So we are seeking a waiver from that, extending 400 feet out. Mm-hmm. And then finally, from section 14628A of the SAUDO, for parking space size, your requirements are 10 by 20. We are proposing 10 by 18, so we're matching the width, and the reason we're asking for the 18, that's what's out on the site today. And again, we're basically lining this parking up, which was there previously. Yeah. So we'd like to maintain the existing foot length, but any new parking spaces that we're striping will meet the 10-foot wide width requirement. Okay. And, that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So the one thing that Cal had mentioned was his recommendation to us that before we proceed to the voting meeting, that you demonstrate in writing that you're able to comply. Are you able to do that?
I'm sorry. Did he actually just like a letter back to you? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes. Of course.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Commissioner Bowe, you look like you have a comment.
Thank you for all the detail. If you could talk for a minute about how you've thought about pedestrian safety, I'd really appreciate that, because pedestrian safety.
Yep.
Because I know in the existing plan, so cars traveling from left to right, right, are often coming very fast through there to get to the parking lot that's on the far right. So I'm kind of wondering, once you raise that parking up, those pedestrians that are getting out of their cars to get into the shops need to cut through another kind of chunk of parking. How are we getting them from their cars at that second raised site into the shops safely?
Yes, good question. And you see here, I'm kind of highlighting that area right there and that area right there. A little darker, there'll be striped areas, cut-throughs, if you will, from that new parking area, well, it's existing, from that raised parking area to the storefronts. And what's not shown in here, and I believe it was one of Cal's letter that we will comply with, will actually be showing crosswalks there with yield to pedestrian signs as well that are not there today. So we are adding crosswalks and yield to ped signs in the parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Schreiber and then Commissioner Youngert.
I have two questions. One is the far side, the back side where it used to be Steinmart and the Aquatic Center, that's not changing at all?
Correct.
That's staying the same, even though that's also tiered?
The only thing, and I don't know if you're referring to the plan north up here, or you're referring to, I know the Steinmart used
Yeah.
to be this building on this
Yeah.
side. We're not
The
doing
parking-
anything.
And nothing, it's only that bottom part that you were on the screen, what?
Correct,
looks
but
like the
I
bottom.
do want to mention up here, you see, you can't really, I don't have a zoomed-in version. We are adding a new transformer in the back, and there's 2 parking spaces that are being modified right there, but that's it
But the
for the
parking
extent of
itself
that.
isn't
Correct.
changing? Okay, and then in the part that you are changing, currently, there's cut-throughs that cars can
Mm-hmm.
cut through. I don't know if you've been like where Trader Joe's up above
I'll go
is,
back
but you
here.
can't, you have to go all the way around to get out. You're not proposing that, are you?
We're, not-
You're going
again,
to still have those cut-throughs?
I think you're referring to up here in the in and out, like near Trader Joe's, this exit up here. But to answer your question, we're not changing, the only thing circulation-wise, again, this access is here, we're not changing the access at all. We're adding actually an access here that's not there today. There is one down here, so we're actually closing one that's closer to the driveway, which is good. We're eliminating that, let me go back to the aerial, I think we'll show it better. So right here, that lower parking lot opens very close to the driveway out to the fairway, right there. And if you go to our plan real quick, you see we're closing that off. That's actually part of our wall, so you can't make that turn there. You have to go internal, more of a throat length, which is, more safe for access.
So in the middle of that section, yeah, right there where that's an opening where a car can go through?
No, not actually, it's right here, it's at the end, if you see right
So if you're
right
at the
there.
very beginning, I don't know how to explain this, but you have to go all the way around, and you can't get out now because you're saying there won't be access on the far right anymore, so you'd have to go all the way around the loop to get out again?
I don't know if I'm following, but where cars on the left side of the plan, we'll say, I mean, they can either go, here in front of the stores, which is there today, and then go out the fairway, which is not changing. If they're coming down this area, they used to be able to go straight out here. That's being closed, but there is a little drive-through right there that they would go around. I don't know if that
Okay.
answers your question or not.
It answers half of it. So at the left-hand side, I feel like I need to get up there, right there.
Yeah?
That's an opening
Yes.
where cars can go through. And that's currently there, and that's not
No,
changing?
no change,
And
correct.
isn't there another one halfway through?
On the existing? No, I don't know. There's just one continuous island here.
Okay.
If that-
Okay, so so there's one all the way down, like what used to be Walgreens, there's one in the middle, kind of.
Actually,
More to it,
good,
and
looking at the aerial here, actually a good way of saying it, this access right here is now being proposed right here, and it's not close to the main driveway, if that makes sense.
All right, okay.
Commissioner Youngert, then Commissioner Spiegelman, and then Commissioner.
Thanks. I just need to understand a little better, you say, so that lower parking area is going to be brought up to the level of the one that's closest to the building. Okay, facing the building, you're in the lower level. if you were to drive that way toward where Walgreens used to be,
Oh, this way.
out that way, yes, but in the existing lower level, yes, and continuing, folks will still be able to drive, yes, exactly where you're leading out toward Route 611 that way. And there's stormwater, you mentioned, I think I heard stormwater basin, that will be below that new raised level of parking area.
Correct.
Okay.
But
How are you
that's-
going to rate, I guess it's a detailed explanation. How are you going to raise that level? What do you, landfill? What do you do? How do you do
Yeah,
that?
I mean, it's dirt. I wouldn't say a landfill, but it's just soil.
Oh, okay.
You know, just soil that they're raising the grade approximately 6, 7 feet. Now, mind you, they'll be excavating, there'll be a box in there for that subsurface basin. But yeah, it's basically just bringing in
Basically,
soil
okay.
to raise the grade. And I
Thank
think,
you.
to answer, you're talking about this transition, it transitions, you see here, these are contours, but you know, as you're going up here, you gradually go up
Yeah.
to that level. You
Oh,
know, it's
okay.
graded out, you know, in accordance with good parking design standards.
I see. Thank you very much.
Can I, it's okay if I jump in? Tom's there. Oh, just, I didn't want to, no, all good, all good. Oh, thank you. I like to be invited, like, directly. Just a couple of quick questions. So just so we're all on the same page, you're comfortable design-wise with making the change to that retaining wall to comport with code from 8 feet to 6 feet? That's not going to be I mean, because that's a pretty substantive change.
We're actually still evaluating options. You know, we can lower it a little bit, but actually, I think we might even have a dual wall system where they're going to be 2 smaller, like 3-foot walls.
Okay.
We're monkeying around with a couple ideas.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we don't think it's going to be an issue.
This doesn't directly pertain to the parking lot, but the former Best Buy unit that you said is going to be parsed into 4 separate spaces. Could you just indicate where the entrances
Yes.
are going to be? Are they still all going to be on that side, or are you going to
Yes.
carve out? Yeah.
So the new entrances, and again, so this 103, this existing tenant here, that's PetSmart. That's not changing.
Right.
And PetSmart opens in if you see the little triangle right there,
I-
there are doors.
Yes.
That's existing PetSmart, not changing. These 3 new tenants all will be fronting the lower parking lot. So here's the door here for that tenant. You know, this one basically centrally located, and this one as well. So all these stores will be facing this lower area. And I mentioned it was the Bed Bath & Beyond before. I think their door was over to the side of the left here.
Yeah.
And there was also a loading dock in there, which we're filling up. So it's the Bed Bath & Beyond and loading dock are the areas these new tenants are taking.
Okay, gotcha. Understood. And then, pardon me. Then my other question, just timeline-wise, once this presumably achieves final approval, what would be the timeline for beginning and completing the parking lot changes?
I mean, the owner unfortunately is not here. I'll give you my best answer. I know they're waiting. There's some work with the common area and elevators and things like that because these are on multiple levels.
Right.
And again, this loading dock, there's elevators. I know from what I was told that takes a long time. But the
Slow
site work,
process.
right, the site work, I mean, I anticipate they'll start, and, you know, my guess for something like this is no more than a 3-month project. I mean, it's not a big project in my mind, so that's a guess. I would say it's a 3-month site work project, but I know they have a lot of building work to do, obviously.
Right, of course. All right, well, thank you very much.
Of course.
Thank you, President Egger. Yeah, I basically got a lot of my questions answered. Thanks for asking, Commissioner Guest and Spiegelman. But I did have a question about the wall. So that's quite an undertaking of building that up. Like, what will the wall look like from the other side? Because I know at the end of that parking lot where you have the wall depicted there is also another downslope
Yes.
into business.
Correct.
So is that going to be like a decorative wall, like the one at the Wawa on Old York Road, or what are the people going to see on Beta Road?
It was asked at the Planning Commission as well. And again, I'll say the wall hasn't been designed yet. Typically, it's kind of a design build when they do retaining walls. I will say that entire frontage, which is basically, and you are correct, like this whole length is basically fronting the fairway. And
Right.
there's another parking lot here, but the fairway. There's a buffer, again, one of the requirements, you might not even see the wall because this little white space in here will be buffered, that whole wall, so actually be hid behind landscaping. But that being said, typically a wall of this type, it's gonna be some kind of, aesthetically pleasing, I like to say, block wall that typically matches the architecture of the building. That's what they, a lot of times, will do. But it hasn't been finally designed yet.
And my other question would be, is Ross leaving? Because I really like that store.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
The Ross is on the upper level.
That's right, yeah, they are on the.
Ross Dress for Less is going to be replaced by Jimmy Dress for More.
Yeah, I'm not aware.
Any other? Okay.
For clarity, for the next time you come here, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Are you looking for definite design plans, what the 6-foot wall is going to look like, the landscaping plans, the traffic peak hour plans? Cal, are you looking for that for a review before they come back to the board?
So let me answer the retaining wall question first. Retaining wall, I do agree. Usually retaining wall is design build, and I review the design of it before construction. So the wall will be looked at afterwards. And I do agree there are many different ways where the wall can be designed, and it will be structurally sound still, and it will meet the requirement of the maximum 6 feet. As for the other questions, I will discuss it with the engineer. We need to get confirmation from him that he will meet all the comments that we have, and then we can work with them only during the recording process if they're not done the actual modification of the plan before the next commissioners meeting. But we need to have a written confirmation from them that they will meet all the requirements. And since I have the floor, if I could, I would like to ask the engineer also by the time, like in the next week or so, if you can submit a written request of the 2 additional waivers that I heard tonight, submit them in writing to the township, if you could.
Of course, Cal, yes. Yeah, I know the day of the planning commission, but should I submit just to you, Cal, send it over?
If you submit them to me, I'll make sure the township has them. We have great communication, but as long as we have them.
Yep.
Commissioner Weingarten, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. I have one last question, just about the lighting. I've seen problems in the past with lighting going into people's homes and things like that. Is there something special that you're thinking about to make sure that the lights shine down, they're shielded, anything like that?
Our intent, I think there's 2 lights that are in this area. They're just going to match the existing. I don't think there's any change proposed. Okay. I didn't know there was any issue. If there's any issues, we certainly would like to know that.
I've seen it in other places.
Yeah,
That's what I'm asking. Okay, thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think what we're hearing is that there is a path for this to be on the December agenda if you work with Cal and, meet his satisfaction on the things he's requested tonight. So we'll be advised by him, and if everything's a go, we can put this on the agenda next month. If there's some sort of hiccup or whatever, we can look at it, in January.
Understood. Yep, yeah. And I'll work with Cal on that.
Okay. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate the time. Thank you for coming out. Okay. We're going to move on, and Mike, I'm going to let them finish their sidebar. The next 2 items are interrelated, right? So we're going to.
They are.
So since we're not voting, I'm going to just turn to you for both items B and C.
Sure.
Thank you.
So as we discussed a few months ago when these 2 items were first presented, everyone obviously in the township is aware of the catastrophic fire at SPS Technologies several months ago. After that fire, we were contacted by the attorney for SPS about their desire to rebuild on the site. It was that time that we discovered what would be called either a weakness or an anomaly in our zoning ordinance, which essentially said if you had a business that was destroyed by no fault of your own and the value less than 50% was destroyed, you could rebuild it, and even if there were nonconformities, you could just go ahead and rebuild it. If it was in excess of 50%, so it could be the difference of 2%, you would not be able to build it rebuild it with all the nonconformities that previously existed. This, I just want to make sure everyone's clear, this does not apply to a use nonconformity. It only concerns dimensional nonconformities. So in looking at the ordinance, what we discovered was that SPS would be able to rebuild, but it would really be impractical and not orderly redevelopment of the site. So what we took a look at the ordinance, and not just thinking about SPS, but thinking about any other business in the township that may suffer a catastrophic loss and has some nonconformities, that since it was no fault of their own, we should try to create a system where they could rebuild, not expanding any of the nonconformities, and they could rebuild up to 75% of the gross floor area. I think when we were here a couple of months ago and we discussed it, without this amendment, SPS would be able to rebuild, but it would be multiple smaller buildings throughout the site, which would create impervious surface issues, which would create setback issues. What this ordinance will do, this zoning amendment will do, is it will allow them to rebuild, and anyone else who has a catastrophic failure, in a much more orderly manner. The second part that we are contemplating is a SALDO, a subdivision and land development ordinance amendment, that will address these sort of catastrophic losses and will allow an applicant to seek a waiver of land development. A waiver of land development is fully within the discretion of the Board of Commissioners and whether to grant it or not. But what a waiver of land development does, it allows an applicant not to have to go through every one of the steps or studies that are normally associated with a land development project. And the reason why this is relevant with respect to a catastrophic loss is, again, using the SPS site as an example, the SPS site already has all of its stormwater facilities on it. So there would be no need to make them go through an entirely new stormwater study, which can be very time-consuming and very costly, because they already have their existing stormwater. Again, with SPS, with what we are aware of what they're proposing, they're actually going to have less impervious coverage, so there'd probably be less need for stormwater. But the same can also apply for any earth disturbance or anything along those lines. The plans will still be reviewed. The plans will still have an opportunity to come before the board. It's called the waiver of land development, but as you know, when we added it a few years ago in other parts of our code, they still come before the board. There's still an opportunity to see the plans. You still have to grant it. And then it's still fully reviewed by Cal and his team. It's only that it gives the township staff and administration the ability to say, we don't need to see earth disturbance. We don't need to see stormwater. If you're not changing any of the ingresses and egresses and your traffic is less or your parking is less, we don't need to see all of those studies as well. So I believe this has been advertised, and the reason we sort of did it in this order was because of the meeting schedule as far as advertising it. We advertised it last month. We're not taking any action tonight. It'll be in front of you at the December meeting. This also gave the opportunity for any members of the public who are interested to see it for over 60 days before you take any action on it.
Makes sense. Commissioner Behe?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. And Solicitor, really appreciate it. This is like a very elegant solution to a challenging problem. So in addition to what Solicitor said, a few things that I really like about this that bodes well for SPS and the other unfortunate properties in the future suffering catastrophic loss. It does require them to come into full conformance with all other dimensional requirements of the code. So for SPS, currently the property is, I think, 6 feet away from the street. It's kind of ridiculous. So now it'll be fully conforming and going back as far as 150 feet at some points. It will reduce the impervious coverage. So, another good point for the, reducing the stormwater studies, they have their facilities, but they're going to also have more, green space that will help, mitigate any stormwater runoff. It'll also require a smaller size of the footprint of the building. I think this is the first time I've seen this, and I really like it. It actually holds them to the renderings that they'll present to us when they come to us asking for that land development waiver. We usually see renderings, and they're just renderings, they're not binding. This actually would put into the statute that they would be held to that to, substantially conform to that rendering, which is, I think very, very positive for us in the township. And then lastly, and again, we really should consider this as an improvement for the entire township, but as regards to SPS, allowing for these waivers and making the land development process much more efficient, this moves the development process along much faster. This has been, a burden on my neighbors, burden on me and my family. I'm only a block away. So moving this along quickly is in everyone's interest. It'll be safe and reviewed by the engineer, but we'll remove some of the, unnecessary hurdles that they would need to otherwise go through despite having been there for 100 years. So I'm very comfortable with these proposals, really appreciate the, again, really skillful work on these ordinances, and hope everyone will be able to support.
Thank you, Vice President Vahey. Any comments or questions for members of the board? Commissioner DePlacido.
Solicitor Clark, so what exactly will come up on the December agenda? Will
The ordinance.
It'll be the approval of these two ordinance amendments. And then once that is done at a future agenda, you will see the request for the waiver of land development when you'll see the plans for what they plan on building.
So nothing for the redevelopment of SPS in December?
Not till a
All right.
later date.
Just these two ordinance amendments.
Just the ordinances. All right, thanks.
And I will point out, and I apologize, I neglected to point it out, the waiver of land development doesn't make them that they don't have to comply with zoning or the building codes.
Yeah.
They have to comply with everything, and they have to comply with all the dimensional variances regarding height and setbacks and everything along those lines. Again, all that really does is just some of the studies we don't need, they don't have to do.
Got it. Any further comments or questions from members of the board? Okay, so with that, we know what we'll be seeing. And so with that, I will open it up for any public comment on what was discussed this evening. Anyone in the room wish to speak? And if there's anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak?
Laura Lehman.
So my concern is, while you're saying, well, they already have all their stormwater management in place, what year was SPS actually created? Stormwater management, were the stormwater management requirements at that time anything like they are now? And we have an area there that completely floods the people right over the borderline from SPS in Cheltenham that goes up like 8 feet up in their buildings and up the walls of their buildings. So, some of that has been mitigated, but most of it has not fully been mitigated. And that whole area across the street from them is all flooded, which Abington constantly wants to use, and they want to send that water into the same place that floods Cheltenham. So my concern is that you're eliminating the need for stormwater management review for buildings that may have been, first of all, built with almost no stormwater management, and certainly not with today's standards. So I am greatly, greatly opposed to this. And I don't think any ordinance should go in like this that allows exceptions from our rules without showing all the properties that might do that. And that really, in essence, includes almost any property in the township. So this is wrong. You should not be doing this. The stormwater management at SPS is very, very important. And they do need to comply with that. And yes, it is expensive. It's very expensive. I hope their insurance covers it, but I really would not like to see you dismiss them from it in an area that so is in need of stormwater management. So that's only one concern I have. The other concern I have is how you again brought these ordinances
to the township meeting as though they could be passed at that meeting. And sometimes I think if nobody was watching you, they might have gotten passed. And again, tonight we had something that went to the meeting with no proper preview before. And you're starting to send things to the voting meeting without any proper committee review or planning commission review or whatever review is appropriate. And this is becoming a real problem. Mr. Hecker in the parking lot at Penn State tried to get his people to accept the conditional use at Rydell Road without any planning commission review that I'm pretty sure most of you there knew was absolutely necessary. So this is a concern. There is a real worry that we are headed into territory that is favoring certain people over the benefit and safety of all of the residents. And moving the speaking, Commissioner Hecker, to the end of the meeting, okay, is never good, because that means that none of our concerns will be addressed during the meeting. So we should have during the meeting or before the meeting, you should hear our concerns, and then certainly after the meeting. And you know that that's not in our interest, and you're supposed to be working for us. So I am against these ordinances being passed and giving preference, and they're being passed really for one particular thing. And I hope before you go any further with this, you will answer the question of what kind of stormwater management they had back in the year that SPS was first built. So I'd like to know the answer to that question. Commissioner Hacker, can I get that answer?
We'll get an answer, for sure. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
So board members, just to clarify, and I apologize for using stormwater as an example, but if your engineer determines that there needs to be a stormwater review on any property in the township, there will be a stormwater review. If your engineer determines that there needs to be an earth disturbance or an earth moving or traffic, there will be. This ordinance is not, this ordinance was brought to our attention because of the SPS issue. It's not to address the eventual land development plans for SPS. Stormwater was just an example. So your engineer will determine what reports need to be done on any particular property that suffers a catastrophic loss.
Makes sense. Commissioner Zappone, did you have a question?
I have a question for Commissioner Mayhew.
Yeah.
You live right there, of course, and I've been here for 40 years. Is there any flooding across from there?
No, there's not, Commissioner.
I didn't
Sabah.
think there
No.
was.
Thank you.
Okay. You live there, so you
I do.
should know.
I'd be aware.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, Commissioner Bowman and then Commissioner Younggertz, and then I'm going to wrap this evening up.
In defense of the speaker, I will note that in Jenkintown, across the train tracks, there has been a lot of flooding in that low-lying train track area.
Commissioner Younggertz, do you have a question?
Yes, I just want to make sure I'm on the right page here. Section 1 of language I have in front of me, item 4, a landowner seeking partial non-conforming structure restoration, et cetera, has to do all this, everything has to be satisfied. Number 4, the reconstructed building and associated reconstructed improvements must comply with current stormwater management regulations. Am I on the right page? Is that right?
You are, and that
Okay.
is correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, any further comments or questions? And with none, we are adjourned for this evening. Thank you all.